Is everyone? I open the room for announcements and happenings in your parts of the world.
Now, I'm going to brave something now. I just got an email this moment, and it's from an old friend. We walked together from California to Washington, D.C. And he's now planning another march. That was the Great March for Climate Action. And it was in 2014, and 38 people made the entire march. Most of those people were senior citizens. Ed Fallon is the person who organized it, and he wants to organize another one. And I think that the Clean Network should get behind it. I assume that he's going to do what he did last time, and we're going to march forth on March 4th, which is what we did last time, and then go all the way across the country from California to the East Coast. And my role, which I just volunteered for not 5 minutes ago, is to organize schools along the route to get school kids to join the march. But let's all put that on our calendar, and let's go spend 7 or 8 or 9 months marching across the United States from California to New York.
That sounds amazing. And yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, no, it's not going to happen for you, but it will happen.
For me.
It'll happen. It'll happen. And last time we, as I said, had 38 or 39 people who made the whole march. There were a couple of hundred of us who ran logistics for the march. I helped the marchers go into schools and make presentations in schools. But I think this time I've got to get the school kids to come out and join the march.
Dave, is this the kind of thing where other people across the US could also march on March 4th, in addition to you going across the country, or is it?
Well, Ed Fallon will be organizing it. I am just doing the educational side of it. So he'll let us know what he wants us to do. But I think that there's room for every volunteer who wants to help. As the march passed through a town last time, my job was to go get into the schools in that town and to have the marchers come over to the school and make a presentation. But I think we're far enough along in this situation that we could do both, a presentation in the school and also march the kids right out of the school to join the route and walk along with us. So I think that whether it's going to all happen on March 4th or happen as we march through that particular town is all up in the air. This is an idea that just came across my email not 30 minutes ago, but I think it's a great idea, and what he wants to do is get some celebrities on the march, get some young celebrities on the march, and I think that'll be really helpful to get publicity for the march and the marchers and the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Any other announcements before we ask Dave to continue? I'm really excited to hear about the book, but also thank you for introducing yourself in the chat. Please continue doing that.
I have a related follow-up question, is just for full clarity, in the world where I live with planning, literally like less than a month from now, this is taking off, not a year from now.
No, I think it's a year from now. I think it's a year from now. I think it's March 4th, 2023. I'm assuming that because it takes a year to get something like this organized.
Well, that's why my head was kind of going like this.
Oh, no.
You said March 4th, and I'm like, oh, okay.
No, I think it's 20
year from now makes more sense.
Yeah, I don't see it happening on this March 4th because he just came up with the idea. But he organized the march in 2014, and he says he doesn't want to organize it this time but he wants to get celebrity muscle behind it. And I tell you, if Jane Fonda or somebody more recent like DiCaprio or somebody were to lead the march, I think we would get a lot of attention and maybe a lot more marchers than the 38 that we got last time.
This is exciting. If you have a link to any information, and you can post it.
I'll put Ed Fallon's email address in the box.
Thank you. So welcome everyone. Dave here is a CEO of Green Actioneers, and the very first time I heard of his name was when I was in grad school a decade ago. And so and I heard your name and work in the context of elementary kids work and climate change and elementary learning, because that was the area of focus that we were working on. So coming back today to think and then to hear about this, the family book involving the family as taking action towards climate change. This is a treat. All yours, Dave.
Okay, well, I've been working, as you mentioned, in this area for a long, long time. In fact, let's go way back. When I graduated from college in 1963, my dedication was to work on the balance between man and land, because I realized at that point there were almost 3 billion people on the planet, and I knew that more than that would be disastrous. And then we passed 3 billion, and then I happened to be in Korea, where I was in the military, and I took an overseas discharge and worked for the Korean Family Planning Program, first as a volunteer for a year, and then I got hired by the Population Council to stay in Korea as their consultant on sort of the new ideas in family planning, helping them to organize something that really worked. At that point, the average family size in Korea was 6 kids, and the average per capita income was $800 a year. This is South Korea. Don't get confused. And so we started a program, and our program was not a trickle-down program, it was a bubble-up program. We trained, when I say we, I mean myself and dozens of Korean friends. We trained 2,400 women, all women, to go door to door at the Myeon level. Myeon is the village in Korea. And if you're in a city or you're in the countryside, it's still a Myeon. That's where the records are kept. That's the Myeon. So at the Myeon level, we organized 2,400 mothers clubs. And we started with a theme, and the theme was girls are as good as boys, have two, space them well. Well, that flew entirely in the face of the culture, because everybody knew girls weren't as good as boys in Korea at that time. You needed to have 3 sons. You needed one for the military, you needed one for industry, and you needed one to be a priest. So you needed 3 sons, at least. Well, fast forward, the average family size in Korea is now 1.6 kids. And the average per capita income is $35,000 a year. But there's a problem. As they developed, they gained our habits. And so Korea is, like the United States, per capita, one of the most polluting countries in the world. So the lesson learned is you may solve one problem, but you will create another. And so with that in mind, I took some time off. I decided it was time to do something else. So after 10 years, I went to Korea, Taiwan, Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, Nepal, and Turkey, and spread the word. I had a business card and it said, "Have condoms, we'll travel." And I went country to country with this idea that if you want to start a family planning program that's really going to work, don't start at the top, start at the bottom. Don't start with the leaders, start with the women and get the women on board. And once they're on board, then the program is going to happen because they realize that this is sensible. So we did that in most of those countries. And so most of those countries have seen wonderful success. Philippines is a great example where I call it our control group. When I got to Korea in 1966, Korean population was 30 million. Philippine population was 30 million. Philippines is a Catholic country. So although they accepted the program under the Marcos regime, when Marcos got kicked out, Corazon Aquino, who was the incoming president, made a deal with Cardinal Jaime Sin. That's his name, really, Cardinal Sin. And Cardinal Sin said, "I will support the people power revolution if you will dismantle the family planning program." So he did and she did. And as a consequence, the Philippine population continued to grow. So the Korean population was 30 million when I got there. It's now about 44, 45 million, and it's coming down. The Philippine population was 30 million when I got there, by coincidence, great control group. It's now over 100 million, and the parents of the next 100 million are already born because it's a population pyramid with a very broad base. It's not like Korea, it's the Philippines. So they're fated to have 200 million people. So that's a great example. Nobody's ever written it up this way. It's a TED Talk waiting to happen. But that particular problem, if you think about it as just a door opener for what we're working on now, is a great example of how things change. The reason that we're doing the program we're doing now, which is working with elementary kids and their parents, with the Green Actioneers Family Action Guide. The reason we're doing it this way is because we're going to start at the bottom again. We're going to start with a mass movement. So we expect that most elementary schools in the country, there are a little over 100,000 elementary or K-8 schools in the country, and we expect that by the end of the decade, most of them will have held family night and passed out the books and gotten the families to sit down and go through the book together. So pages XII and XIII in the book tell you how to do that. It's kind of a prescription for what happens in your school. Now, the way the book is organized is really important. It's like Drawdown for families. It's over 100 actions that families can take to go green. It's a coloring book for the little guys. It's got quotations from famous people. It's in English and it's in Spanish, and it's got games that are based on this information. It's got puzzles and games for the older kids. So the idea is the family comes into the room on family night. Hopefully it's the gymnasium or the cafeteria, but all the furniture has been removed. And as the families come in, every family gets a book. And they get told, go sit on the floor and go through the book together. Find things that you know you can do. Then I, Professor Green, and that's the person in the front of the room. The person in the front of the room is Professor Green, by the way. I, Professor Green, will point at families, and one of you jump up and tell us the page number. Okay, so the page is 72, and the action is get an energy audit. So you jump up and you say, 72, get an energy audit. Then kids, look at your grown-up. And if your grown-up gives you the high sign, I want you to all to jump up and say, we can do that too. Okay, let's try it once. Okay, get an energy audit. And then the parents all go like this. And the kids all jump up and say, we can do that too. Great. Then Professor Green goes around the room and gets other families to do the same thing. After about a dozen of these, which will all be things like turn off the lights or plant trees, that's another good one. Professor Green will say, well, okay, you missed a few. I want to give them to you right now. And give the page number. Drive an electric car. Every kid will jump up. They don't even have to look at their grown-up. They're going to jump up and shout, we can do that too. Okay, and then the next one, put solar panels on your roof. The kids will jump up. We can do that too. Here's a touchy one. I don't know how many kids will jump up. Become a vegan. So it's good laughing material. Everybody's going to have a good time with the book. And then the families get the option to keep the book. It only costs $20 to keep your book, and $10 stays in the school. So the school is going to use it as a fundraiser. Before we dismiss everybody, Professor Green says, grown-ups, if you want to be on the green team in the school, raise your hand. So I've got 50 or 60 families out there. 20 hands will go up. If your hand is in the air, stand up. If you're standing, come to the front of the room. Okay, line up, put your arms around each other's shoulders. Principal, take a picture. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your green team. Well, what have we done? In a single day, we've gone from nobody knows about this green thing to we've held family night. Families have gotten specifically committed to actions. They've seen the book, they've fallen in love with the book. The kids want the book because it's a coloring book, because it's got games and puzzles in it. And then they get the option to take the book home with them. So as far as I'm concerned, this is the start of a movement. And that's been my job in life, is to start movements like I did with the family planning movement. There's another one that I started that I'll tell you about in a few minutes. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to start a movement among elementary school kids and parents. Now, this is not a teacher job. Teachers are up to here with stuff to do. We don't want the teachers involved. If they want to get involved, they can get involved. We've got a tool for them to use. It's called the Green Actioneers Cape. And any teacher who wants to can make, or have one of the moms make, or one of the dads make, a Green Actioneers Cape. And then every day, at the beginning of the day, the kids, if they want to, can get up and talk about what their family is doing that they found in the book to go green. And then the other kids get to decide if they get to wear the cape. And if the other kids say, yeah, let Bobby wear the cape, then Bobby gets to wear the cape until first recess. So that's how teachers can get involved. Another way teachers can get involved is Post-it notes. If a kid comes in and tells a good story about what their family is doing to go green, then they write their name and the action that they're taking on a Post-it note, and they put it out in the hallway on a chart called the Green Actioneer chart. And these notes go out in the hallway. Well, kids love to see their name out in the hallway. I mean, we could do it in the classroom, but I'd rather have it in the hallway. We used to do this with another program. And when the kids would come to school in the evening, the first thing they would do is run over to that chart with their name on it and point to it and tell their parents, Mom, look, my name's out here in the hallway. So we're using a system that already exists. Think of our book like scholastic books. Everybody knows about scholastic books. You don't buy them in the bookstore, you buy them at school. So our book is like Scholastic books, and we found another book that we think can go along with it. And I've got it. Oh, here it is. This one is called Is It Really Green? It's more of a grown-ups book, but it could be the companion, so that now we don't fly on one wing. We've got two wings to fly on. We've got Green Actioneers Family Action Guide, and we've got Is It Really Green? What we're doing now is organizing our launch. And the launch is going to be on April 22nd, which is Earth Day. It's 4/22/22. And that's the day that we hope that we're going to have schools all over the country. I keep saying 100 schools, but it may be more, it may be less. But if we make a goal like that, 100 sounds like a good idea. 100 schools that hold family night. And all they have to do in order to hold family night is get one copy of the book and look at pages XII and XIII, and it'll tell them how to organize it. And then they organize the book at the night and pass out books as people come in. They have to order books. We've got a crowdsourcing company that wants to help. They're called patronicity.com, and Patronicity, I'll put them into the chat. Patronicity has offered to help schools do crowdsourcing in their neighborhood to raise enough money to pay for the books, to get the books into the school. But the families are going to buy the book. So really, the fundraising isn't necessary. If the PTA already has enough money to put forward to pre-purchase the books, they don't have to do the fundraising campaign. And most PTAs in this country have between 40 and, I hate to say it, 400,000, between $40,000 and $400,000 a year that they run through their coffers. That's all pre-pandemic. It may be different now. So I'm not worried that the PTAs won't be able to afford this. What we're doing is we're creating a green team that is all about the people who come and go in the school every day. Right now, a lot of schools have green teams. I was the keynote speaker at a county conference, a school district conference. Here in Florida, the district and the county are the same thing. So I was a keynote speaker at a county green team, green schools conference. And I talked all about the Green Actioneers Family Action Guide, and I held up the draft of the book. And I said, at the end of my talk, I said, now, how many of you are going to start this in your classrooms? And not a hand went up. And I said, well, what's the problem? And somebody said, well, you don't know who we are. And I said, well, who are you? You're the green team for the school. They said, yeah, we're the custodians and the facilities managers. We aren't teachers. We never see kids. We don't see parents or kids. We're the green team that helps the school be green. And I went, oh my goodness, this is a problem. So it turns out that the US Green Building Council has helped to organize this nationwide, but it's not focused on the people who come and go every day in the school. It's focused on the building and grounds. So we've got to get beyond that. We don't want to negate that, but we do want to use it as a stepping stone to help us talk about a larger entity, which is the community, not just the building, but the people who come and go every day. So that's the basics of the program. And I'm happy to send a sample digital book to anybody and a print book to anybody who will take it into their school and talk to the PTA and the principal about it. Don't take it to the school board and don't take it to the district, because there's somebody in the district and there's somebody in the school board who can say no. But there's only one person who can say yes about this program, and that's the principal of the school. So go straight to the principal, take the PTA president with you, and the two of you talk to the principal about it, and it'll be a program. But if you go to the district and say, could we do this in the schools? there's somebody there who's going to say no. Now, one of the things that's important to know about this book is this book does not mention climate change, global warming, or sea level rise. This is not about how bad it's going to be when we do everything wrong. It's about how great it's going to be when we do everything right. So the book is all about solutions. It's 100% solutions without talking about the problem. Somebody wants to talk about the problem, let them. But I don't want it to stand in the way of distribution of the book. The book is ecumenical. If you're a hunter and you've got lots of guns at home, you wouldn't like a climate change book, but when you get a book that tells you that there's going to be more green spaces and more things to shoot, you might want to do that. Or if you're a fisherman and you don't really believe this science stuff, but now we tell you, well, we're going to make the water so clean you can actually eat the fish. That's a happy fisherman. If you're a farmer, we're going to help your soil to be clean. We're going to help you to get off of the fossil fuel based pesticides, herbicides, fungicides that you're putting on your soil. So the whole idea is to make an ecumenical approach that nobody can stand up against. Okay, I'll be quiet.
The cape was my favorite part. The cape was awesome. Have you, so in elementary, I mean, this is through a family night, so it could be through an after school program too.
Only if you can get the parents in, yeah.
Have you had any experience with that, or you thought about that, or someone's used like that?
What we've done so far is I did programs in Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, and Colorado. Only a few in each state. And we didn't have the book. We had a checklist instead. Because it requires us to have the parents and kids together, and because after school usually is parents come pick up kids and leave, parents come pick up kids and leave, we didn't find an after school situation that worked. We really want to have that dedicated time with the kids and parents together. The problem that we ran into in a couple of schools was that they said, well, we're going to combine what you're doing with a big fiesta. We're going to have everybody come in. They're going to come in for other things. And you're going to be one of our stations, and they'll come to your station and they'll pick up the book. Well, that doesn't work. Another school said, well, we're going to have ice cream and cotton candy and hot dogs before your program. Well, that meant they had to have tables. Well, as soon as they had tables and all the grown-ups were seated at the tables, and then Professor Green got up on stage and said, hey, it's time for us all to come sit on the floor. Not a grown-up moved, and all the kids came and sat on the floor. So it really has to be a standalone program. I'm very doctrinaire about that. They have to come in the door with the idea that they're going to get the book when they get there. And the kids are excited about the book because somebody, Professor Green, went from classroom to classroom and showed them the book for the last few days and went through the book with the kids and got the kids to the point where they're going like, whoa, I really want to come. I want to come. Mom, we got to go. This is really important. And then the kids are going to drag the parents in kicking and screaming. And what we're doing is we're using the two most powerful forces in the universe. And that is love of parents for their very small children and the nagging power of those kids. And we could do Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and 4-H as well. But again, we have to have the parents. I would hate to send this book home with a kid and have the kid say, Mom, I want to show you this book. Mom, look, here's what we should do. No. You need to have that community support. You need to have Professor Green, who is an established authority figure, who is a person who they respect. Hopefully somebody in the PTA or somebody from the school, could be a teacher. A science teacher would be great. I plan to be on the road, going from school to school doing this as Professor Green, and I'm happy to train hundreds of other people to go be Professor Green. So it could be a job. Professor Green could be a job.
I was going to ask that. Sorry, my internet keeps slowing me down, so I turned off my video. I was going to ask that. What is there any training associated, or how do you envision as this program grows?
As the program grows, there will be training. Right now, I just tell people to read pages 12 and 13 in the book XII and XIII, and to organize it that way. And I'm going to be on a Zoom call every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, starting after Earth Day. And I'll be able to talk people through it so that they have the confidence to do it themselves. But it really does take confidence to get up in front of the kids and parents and make a presentation. I have the advantage. Now we get into something else, that I was Professor Confidence, and I went to over 2,000 elementary schools over a 30-year period, and presented this little book, The Joy of Juggling, and taught well over 1 million kids and parents how to juggle. But we didn't use razor sharp knives and flaming torches and household pets. We used nylon scarves, and everybody learned how to juggle in slow motion. It's so slow that even a kindergarten can do it. So we used scarves, and we taught enough people to juggle that I sold over 1 million copies of this book before the internet existed. So if I sold 1 million copies of a silly little juggling book without the internet, just think what we can do with the internet and with a book that's really important. So that's why I'm doing it. And I know how to do it. I did it before. And it's been my life's purpose to get to this point. I'm 80 years old, and I'm going to put a decade into this, and then I might retire. Any other thoughts, questions, ideas? Anybody want to get your local schools involved? I'll send you a book.
Dave, I had a couple thoughts. I think I might have pinged you with this 3 or 4 weeks ago, but here in Bay Area, we run, the group I work with runs a lot of professional development workshops. And this spring in particular, we're really focused on action. So your book really hits the mark. But if you'd be willing to kind of offer like almost like a teacher training, if you will, it could really just be a run through, maybe pull out 1 or 2 of the fun activities that you might be able to engage participants in over Zoom. The workshops are typically about an hour long. And then just from there, it's teachers or educators. It's not just teachers necessarily, but what I'll do is I can kind of propose that to my supervisor, and I bet she would be on board just because it really fits kind of where we're heading.
Yeah, please do. I mean, this is what I'm waiting for, is for people like you, Eric, to say, I'd like to take what you're doing and magnify it. And that's what happened with the juggling book. How could I have sold 1 million juggling books? It was translated into German, French, Italian, Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese, and there are bootleg copies available in Chinese and Thai. So it was effective. And I didn't do that. All I did was start it out. So my job is to start the ball rolling down the hill, and then other people are going to pick up on it, and it's going to keep going. And by the end of the decade, we'll look back and we'll say, wow, we really did something. We got a whole sector of the population that was neglected, that had not yet stepped up, and we got them to step up. And that's the problem. There are a lot of people who say it's too late for this. And I say, well, let's go back 20 years and do it. I was ready. And you're right, it's too late for this, but let's do it. Because if you're going to plant a tree, it's either 20 years ago or today. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to plant a tree and it's going to grow and we're going to get lots and lots of fruit off of this tree. As you can tell, I take my work seriously and myself lightly, which allows you to still be working at the age of 80. I've never had a day of work. I was either out doing my Climate Changes Elementary program or my Juggling for Success program, going door to door, doing school to school, and having fun with kids. And I'm quite willing to do that for another 10 years. And then I might do something else. So yes, Eric, let's set it up. You've got my email. Happy to do it. Anybody else have a good idea? Any questions or problems? Well, you've got my email. I'm happy to send a book to anybody who wants one, who, if you'll take it into a local school and get the school started. And whether you're going to do that or not, I'll send you a digital copy of the book. The reason I don't mind sending digital copies of the book out is because it's a coloring book. You can't color a digital book. So if somebody gets this and they go, well, let's download the pages. No, that's stupid. Well, what are we going to do? Well, I don't know. Let's order one. Okay. So I don't mind giving it away. Paulo Coelho was an unknown author 15 years ago, and he started giving away the digital copy of his book, and he became a world famous author with millions of books sold.
Dave, I have a question. For the schools that you've gone into and where you said you kind of presented the book first and maybe some highlights from it before you had the workshop, were there any particular, I'm looking at your website and I see the different sections of, different categories of actions. Were there any categories of actions that you found young kids were particularly drawn to, more than others?
Yeah, what we did was we gave them a checklist and we asked them to go down the checklist and do exactly what we're asking them to do in the book. And they always came up with the easy stuff, like take shorter showers. Some kids said, take shorter showers. All the kids go, yeah, shorter showers. And the boys would say that. The girls wouldn't say that. And then, sorry to be a sexist, but it's true. And then some kid would say, turn off the lights. My parents always leave the lights on in the kitchen, even when they go to bed. And then the other kids would say, yeah, turn off the lights. So the kids would go for the easy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what's going to happen with the book, just like it did with the checklist, that the kids are going to want to do the easy stuff that they know they can do. But what we want them to do is step through the easy stuff and then get into the hard stuff. Get into put insulation in the attic, get double paned windows. These things are all in the book. There's over 100 actions in the book. And the website is going to be developing as time goes by, and we're going to add more stuff to it. We also are going to put QR codes in the book. So you can take your phone and you can go to a page in the book and you can get a direct link to whatever the action or organization or company is. So if you want to put insulation in your house, you just go there and some insulation company, the greenest insulation company, will get their QR code and put it in the book. That's going to take a while. That's going to take probably a year before we have those QR codes in there and you can use the book that way. But I remember when the Whole Earth Catalog first came out, I was in Berkeley at the time doing a master's program in public health education. Got to talk about my alma mater. The Whole Earth Catalog came out and it was a little skinny thing. And they kept adding and adding and adding and adding. And pretty soon it was about that thick. It was amazing how that grew. And I think this is going to be the same way. I think it's going to grow. And I think that 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, it's going to be a different book altogether in terms of what it has in it. It'll have a lot more stuff in it and a lot more contacts, and it'll be more of a hub. So it will become the Wikipedia of green action for families. Right now, I think it's Drawdown for families, but eventually it'll be Drawdown plus the Wikipedia all in one place. So any other thoughts, ideas, questions, suggestions? Okay, well, happy to be able to tell colleagues about this. Please spread the word, let people know that there's this guy and he's, he laughs a lot and he's energetic, which is, I think, important when you're making presentations to kids.
This is very inspiring. It's just the kind of a presentation or talk or a pitch for a book that I wanted to hear on a February cold and not so cold, probably warm day in the middle of Omicron, schools losing teachers. So thank you for joining us and talking about the book with us.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
We have 15 more minutes. So any other thoughts? I was wondering with this book, what would be your, have you done any family school nights in smaller districts? As you mentioned, would you want to take it to your school district? I mean, right now we have all sorts of angry parents in my school district here, and proposing a green school night, even if it's not political here, it would be in a hot second, it would be.
Well, I think we need something to pull out of COVID. We need a next step. And so this could be the next step. There's a poem right at the beginning of the book, and it's called "Let's Go Green After Quarantine." And the whole idea is that I'll just read the first quatrain. Let's all go green after quarantine. We know for sure it's time. Let's do our best to heal the earth, create a world sublime. COVID was good training for the crisis that's a-coming, like a loaded train at breakneck speed with all the wheels a-humming. So let's begin right here and now to create a greener place. Start with simple things, go step by step, but go at your own pace. Our book should help. It has 100 actions to review. They're for city kids, suburban folk, and country cousins too. So get the book, go down the list and choose some simple chores like sealing drafty cracks around your windows or your doors. And there's all that power that you waste by leaving cords plugged in. Just think about your household as if all that waste's a sin. How do you choose what to do first? Maybe the easiest part. I bet there's at least one action here that hits you in the heart, like plant an indoor garden or switch to LEDs, eat less red meat, more blueberries, yellow squash, and green peas. Can I keep going? I'll finish. Or take shorter showers, compost every table scrap, make drinking water right at home with a filter on your tap. And you can look for an open space to plant a bush or tree or a backyard vegetable garden, and then you eat for free. Look through the book and make your plan with saving dough in mind, or shoot the moon and spend some cash on actions that you find, like solar panels on your roof or that spiffy electric car, a reflective roof, new windows too. You're a clean green superstar. Let's all go green after quarantine. We have no time for slack. Once you do go green, I think you'll find you never can turn back. And when we all have taken steps to create a clean green scene, we'll all be glad we took the plunge and went green after quarantine. So that's how we open the program.
This is awesome. The quarantine part, it has to be my favorite part.
Okay, well, we're gonna definitely use that. And you know, if people want to add to this, somebody's got to make a children's cartoon series out of this so that kids can look it up on Nickelodeon. No, not Nickelodeon. What's it called these days? Whatever. Disney Plus. It is Green Actioneers, after all. So Disney should go, oh, Green Actioneers. Maybe we should hire them or start, we should take it over, or whatever they do. They don't like things that come from the outside. They have to invent everything themselves. But so some of my interns are on here now. I said that Decory is on there, and maybe others. So that's great.
Yeah,
Right.
Dave, I can talk for a second about our team.
Oh, great. Here's Henry. Henry's one of the interns. Yes, speak, Henry.
Yeah, so right now we have 2 student groups working on the project and working on promoting it before the launch. Our group right now, it's me, Decory, Ashley, we have another member. We're the marketing team. We are creating buzz for the product. We're contacting social media, traditional media, and just trying to increase the number of people who know what the book is. We want to increase the number of people who know about the book and just understand what we're trying to do, and eventually get it, of course, introduced to schools and groups. We've got another team that's going directly to schools and talking to principals and trying to get it introduced directly. So there's a lot going on kind of behind the scenes, pushing the book and try to get it out there and trying to spread our reach and cast our net as wide as possible. We've had over 70 students, I think, contribute to the book in the past with making the puzzles and working on the website, making blog posts for the book. So we've got a lot of students who are working on it and try to get it out. And I think Decory and Ashley already put their emails in the chat. If you have any questions about the book, we are all available to be contacted about it. I'm going to put my email in the chat right here in a second. So we got a lot of work going on with it, and we're available if you guys need an extra resource about the book.
Yeah, and I want to applaud Henry and all of the other interns. We list the names of 60 of the interns in the front of the book. This book would not exist were it not for Professor Richard Plate and the interns, because Professor Plate is a sustainability professor at University of Central Florida. And I went to him about 3 years ago and showed him my rough draft of the book and said, boy, I would really love to have some help with this. And every semester he's given me anywhere from 5 to 20 interns to work with. And this semester we've got, as Henry says, 9 interns working on the book. They're working on marketing the book. The other ones were working on writing the book. In fact, some of them were working on planning the book. We also created a program that can be run in the school where we work with every grade level with a different animal. And the idea is that the kindergarten would become monarch butterflies, and the first grade would become frogs, and the second grade would become manatees, and so forth. And they would learn what the problems are for that critter, and that would help them to empathize with that critter. When they come to family night, they're coming to help the manatees, to help the frogs, to help the monarch butterflies. I'm not sure that that piece of the program is as important as it was when we didn't have a book. The idea then was to go in and do it in the same method that I use with the Climate Changes Elementary program. Climate Changes Elementary, I would go in for the day and do classes with every grade level and then have family night in the evening. It worked really well, but it takes an incredible amount of energy to do that. And I'm not sure that there's that many people who could put that much oomph into it and have the relationship with the little guys that you need to have, that somehow I have never lost. I started making presentations to Cub Scout groups when I was a Boy Scout, and I haven't ever stopped. So that program exists, and it was designed by the students, and we could run it. But I want to get the book out there first before we overload people with detail. The book is a standalone project, I think. But if people get excited about it, we have this other piece that we can add, which is grade level classes for every grade level. And they're geared to the region of the country where the kids live. So when I was in Colorado, we did a section on pika, a little rabbit-like critter that lives up at the snow line. And when I was in New England, we did one on puffins. It's great because you get to play that great song. There once was a puffin the size of a muffin. So there's music and movement and fun and games and so forth in this program. I'd love to get that whole program out there, but that's a lot of work. Let's get the book out first. And once the book gets out there and starts getting some momentum, then we can go back and work on a program that goes step by step through the school, through the day, and leads to family night.
Thank you very much, Dave. This is all very helpful. Any other thoughts? Questions? Comments? If not, Gina, you could stop the recording and we could just leave a